everyone, welcome to another episode of Dayspring Discussions. This is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. Joining me on this lovely Tuesday morning is the always beautiful Lisa Locke McGahee.
Hello.
All right, Lisa.
You forgot to introduce yourself, though.
Well, I'm Sean McGahee. Everyone knows who I am. I'm here all the time,
I'm just
okay?
saying.
People know who I am. I thought I said my name.
Nope, you skipped it.
Okay, when I go back and do the replay, I'll listen and see if I said my name.
You didn't. I'm telling you, you didn't.
Okay, anyway, any event, I'm here all the time. I'm the one constant in the show, okay? They know I'm here for them day in and day out. My audience knows me. I've established this before, okay? We have a bond.
Okay.
All like three of us.
All right.
But anyway, guys, so if this is the first time listening to the show, Lisa and I are going to run through some stories that happened last week. We're going to discuss them, and then you guys can chime back on social media or on our Gmail email account and let us know what you think as well. Lisa, you've had a tough morning so far. You ready to get into this and get down into it?
I really am ready for margarita or something.
Okay, really? It's only, 10 a.m.
Well, yeah, this has been a morning.
We'll tell you what, let's run through these stories and maybe we'll talk afterwards about possibly drinking before noon, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, guys, so sticking with, starting off with some DC news, Henry Cavill took to Instagram last week and showed a picture of a black version of his Superman costume, kind of confirming that the character's return will be similar to what it was in the comic books, to where he came back in a black costume before redonning the blue and red tights that he did originally.
Hey, don't make fun of the tights. His costume in these new movies is pretty awesome.
Well, they're not even tights in the new costume. I'm just, saying that's kind of what it is. But anyway, something coincidentally, also, when the Man of Steel film came out in 2013, there was actually a toy of him in a black costume. But, of course, that was never in the film. Turns out we're going to get that toy in this movie, so they'll probably just take that toy, put him in a different package, and then try to resell him again, because that's what they do nowadays. I've seen it happen before. It's ridiculous. But anyway, Justice League comes out November 10th, 2017, directed by Zack Snyder. It's going to star Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, the whole shebang.
Gadot.
I know I never say it right. And
Nobody says it right.
You're always there to correct me, so it's okay. But anyway, what did you see the picture of the costume?
No, I didn't. But I mean, the costumes are like the only thing I like about the Zack Snyder Superman movie. So
Superman movie, okay? There's
Whatever.
only one. The other one was Batman v Superman. And let's talk about this for a sec, because the other night you and I sat down and we actually watched Batman v Superman: The Ultimate Cut. It was the first time you'd seen it. You fell asleep with 10 minutes to go.
Well, by that, whatever. I was tired.
Which, you missed the extended Batman Lex scene in the prison and the part where Perry White shows up at Clark's funeral.
Oh, right.
But anyway, from what you saw, because you were watching it and you weren't, too impressed with some of the stuff that was added, but towards the end there, I felt like you were kind of coming over.
Okay, so I still don't like it. It did not change my opinion of the film overall. I still think the things I didn't like about the first one, I still don't like about this one. I don't think it really fixed any of the things that I really didn't like. There was a couple of scenes that were added back in that were Superman related that I was like, why in the world did they cut this? The scene would have really helped further the plot. But even adding those back in, I still felt like the things I didn't like, I still really didn't like. Like, I still really didn't like Lex. I still think Crazy Lex didn't make any sense. I still really didn't like the whole Lex plot line, with trying to get them to fight and creating. It just didn't make any sense. So even with the things that were added back in, I still did not like the film. But there was a few things that were added back in that I thought were good. All in relation to Superman.
Yes, because that's pretty much what all they cut out.
Like
was
when
Superman
he took
stuff.
off his shirt in the tub. Score.
I figured you liked that part.
And like I said, the only thing I like really about his, I really do like their costumes.
Yeah, I like the Superman costume.
Yeah, I like his costume a lot. But I wasn't impressed still. Even the extended cut, I will be perfectly happy if I never see it again.
Well, I'm sure you'll see it again because we'll have to go back and rewatch it before we see Justice League.
You'll have to go back and rewatch it.
I'm sure you'll want to rewatch it. I mean, like I said, you missed the last 10 minutes where there was, again, more stuff.
Well, I think you should have told me to wait a few minutes. I thought
like that would have mattered.
Once I got to the prison, I was like, meh.
Exactly. In the prison, there was a whole, at least another minute of dialogue.
Well, then why didn't you tell me to hold up?
Why don't we just go go back and we'll watch it. Okay,
Yeah.
it's only like 10 minutes of the film.
Fine.
It does.
I still don't think it's going to change my overall impression.
It does help the character of Lex a little bit too, as
Okay.
well. But anyway, getting back to Henry Cavill's photo, the black costume. Of course, I'm all about it. You know, I grew up on the death and return of Superman. I have the graphic novels and. You know, anything that's going to be close to that classic storyline, I'm all about. I'm just curious if they're going to give him a mullet. Because in the story, Superman comes back and he has this mullet.
They're not going to give him a mullet.
Then he keeps the mullet for like several years in the comics before he actually chops it off.
When was the comics written?
That was 92,
That's why he had a
93.
mullet. That's why he had a mullet. He's not going to have a mullet now.
And he didn't look that bad, actually, with it. You know, it wasn't, like, out of control,
Whatever.
You know.
The 90s were the time for the mullets. Mullets' time is over.
Anyway, I think he's going to come back with it, and then he'll cut it, you know. I'm sure once he actually puts the cape back on, he'll cut it.
I don't think there will be a mullet in any way, shape,
I think he's going to have longer hair, at least.
Not going to
I think he'll have a longer hair, probably at least a beard. Because,
maybe, but there won't be a mullet.
You know, he sported the beard in Man of Steel as well. So.
Yeah, there will not be a mullet.
All right, we'll have to wait and see on that. So sticking with DC news, Jared Leto talked at a 30 Seconds to Mars fan event. For those of you who don't know, that's Jared Leto's band. For those of you who don't know him as an actor, he does have a band as well. But anyway, he was talking about how when he was pitched the character of the Joker for Suicide Squad, he was pitched it in a very different way. And he's talked before about how there are several scenes that he's done with the Joker for Suicide Squad that were actually cut out. And he said, quote, sort of felt like he was tricked into being a part of something that had been pitched to him very differently. It's no secret Jared feels disappointed in what ended up being the theatrical release of Suicide Squad. He's discussed this repeatedly in interviews during the promotional tour in London. Now, I went on to talk as well about kind of Leto's contract and his, what I would say, disappointment or anger towards what Warner Brothers will or won't have him do, because Warner Brothers apparently forbade him from pursuing some of his more risky hobbies, such as rock climbing. And
they always do that.
Leto went on to just say, F him, is what it was. But anyway, so for everything we got from Leto from this film, seems like he's overall just disappointed with the Joker, because he's even talked about how he's enjoyed playing the character when he was doing it, but the way he didn't like the end product. Now, this is kind of nothing new, because there are several actors or directors who, before the film's even out, or when the film was just released, talk about how they felt like their vision of the character or the story didn't come to fruition. Most famously, last year, was Josh Trank for Fantastic Four. The day that film was released, he sent a tweet saying, hey, this version of the film was not mine. The studio hijacked it. Mm-hmm. And pretty much, shot himself in the foot. But then Jared Leto here speaking out against Suicide Squad. Do you think this is going to have any repercussions for him in either the DC universe with Warner Brothers and future films? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. It depends. It depends on if there is like a clause in his contract that he's not supposed to say anything bad, and he's out there saying all this negative stuff, then the studio is going to have to do something. Mm-hmm. But unless it's a ploy, like unless the studio has been disappointed with the way the movie is done, and they're letting him do this for publicity. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think he's the kind of actor that would do that kind of publicity stunts, though. He's a very serious, methodical actor.
I'm just saying, he's an Academy Award-winning actor who wants to work.
If, Will Smith did this, I can see that, because, he's an entertainer.
Hello, Jared Leto is a musician as well. He is an entertainer.
I'm just saying, he gets into his roles, very deep,
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying, he still works for Warner Brothers. He still has a vested interest in this franchise being successful. Mm-hmm. And this film didn't do well.
It did do well, actually.
It did well.
Okay, so let's clarify this right here, okay? Yes, it's not, going to hit $1 billion, but for the third week in a row, this weekend, it was number one. It's past, I think 500 or 600 million at the box office. It is a success. What's split is the reviews, because some people didn't like it, some people didn't. I know after I saw it, I told you, you can skip it. I don't think it was a bad movie, like Batman v Superman theatrical cut, bad, but it wasn't, something I got excited about.
I'm not talking about making money. I no longer correlate film success with how much money it makes. I mean,
Studios do, though.
I know, but I don't. I'm saying as a person who goes to the movies, I don't care how much money it makes. I mean, for God's sakes, the Transformers movies make a killing, and they're shit. So
that's always a good reference point.
Yes, I don't really think how much money it makes it a good movie. I'm talking about critical reviews and fan reviews. Like that's what I think. If I'm going to go see a movie, I don't care how much money it made. I care what the people that I care about thought about it, and what critics thought about it. And this movie isn't getting, critical reviews.
Yeah, I think it's totally like critic-wise. I think it's like a 40% maybe or something like that.
It's doing better than Batman v Superman, but it's not by any means. It's
not a high bar to reach.
Right, exactly. It's not doing well. So I mean, I can see from his perspective, Jared Leto doesn't make a lot of films. And when he chooses a film, it tends to be critical success. So for him to do, I mean, in his opinion, this was probably a bomb for him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it farms like story-wise, because he's a type of actor. It seems like he doesn't care about the how much success the film does. He wants to make a good movie.
He wants people to like it, and it's not being well received. That's what I'm saying. So unless this is, I mean, I don't really know what this is about, but
I'm not sure. I mean, really, it comes down to going back to. I think we're going to get another like ultimate cut of Suicide Squad. It's going to have a lot more Joker in it. And because people have said that there is a cut of this film that is not as jokey or as fun as what the theatrical cut is. It's a little more serious. It's probably got, more Joker in it, being a little more dangerous, you could say. But I'm interested to see that film. I told Josh, I was like, look, Suicide Squad, I didn't think it was horrible, but I really wasn't entertained. I was honestly kind of bored with the film. Now, would I be interested in seeing some kind of director's cut? Yes, because David Ayer makes good movies. So I totally believe that David Ayer has a cut of this film that is going to be enjoyable, I think, for me, or more enjoyable than what the theatrical cut was. So I'm interested in seeing a director's cut of this film. Now, will I go out and buy the Blu-ray the day it comes out? No, I will not. And chances are, even if there is a director's cut, I probably won't buy that either because... same thing. I wasn't overly excited for this film just because these aren't characters that I care too much about. But in any event, we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, box office wise, it's doing well. Ratings wise, it's mixed. But I can definitely see there's things to carry over. The characters themselves weren't the problem. It was the story that was my problem.
Right, but that seems to be the ongoing theme of the Warner Brothers films. Like, that's what I can't... I mean, there's 3 movies in now, and they still can't seem to figure out...
They've all been mixed.
...that the story is the problem.
It's the editing that's a problem. I mean, the story's there, I think. It's the editing and the choices.
I don't agree. I still think Batman v Superman could not have been saved by the editing. The editing was a problem, yes. But that story was... flawed from the get-go. Like, that story did not make sense.
Okay, I'm not going to go into it because I defend the ultimate cut. So we'll just move on from there. Now, sticking with Jared Leto, just kind of a little bit off the DC path a little bit. It was confirmed last week that he is going to be in the new Blade Runner film. That's according to Variety. No details yet on what role he'll play. The Blade Runner film is set to take place decades after the events of Ridley Scott's 1982 sci-fi film. Harrison Ford will return as Rick Deckard, and Leto is going to join the cast of Ryan Gosling, Robin Wright, and Dave Bautista. It's going to be directed by Denis Villeneuve. I said that wrong, of course. Who directed Sicario and Prisoners, both good films in my opinion. So I'm kind of excited. Again, Leto, just adding talent to it. You got Harrison Ford, Ryan Gosling, Robin Wright, now Jared Leto. Shaping up to be a good cast. I'm not a big fan of Blade Runner. I think it's an okay film.
I've still never seen it. I need to watch it. I think I would like it.
I think you would like it probably a little more than even I would. I've seen it. I like it. I don't love it, but I'm definitely more excited that Leto is going to be joining this cast. Maybe if you're lucky, Ryan Gosling will take his shirt off during the film too. And,
nah, okay, that's fine.
That's okay with you, right? Yeah. It'll get you to watch the film. So, all
right, that's not the only reason I watch films. It's just a nice surprise.
All right.
I'm saying.
Fair enough. All right, so getting back to DC news, Entertainment Weekly released a trailer for the next Batman animated movie, which is called Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders. Now, this animated film is going to have the voice talents of Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar. If you recognize those names, well, you're not the only one, because those were the stars of the 1960s Batman live-action series, and because this movie is actually going to take a cue from the 1960s series and feature those same characters. So Burt Ward's going to be Robin, Adam West is back as Batman, and Julie Newmar, of course, as Catwoman. And the film is also said to have the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, and all those cast of characters. It's going to be on digital HD October 11th and on Blu-ray November 1st. Did you check out the trailer at all?
I did not.
See what I work with? I give her these... no prep, you know?
You're supposed to show me when there's something I'm supposed to watch. I read the show notes.
I see, projecting onto me now.
I read the show notes, but you're the one that always says, okay, I have a couple things for you to watch.
When you read the show notes, can't you say, like, ooh, maybe I should watch this?
Yeah, but it's a Batman animated thing.
Oh, no, she didn't. Okay. Some of the Batman animated films, Batman animated in general, have been the best Batman, okay? There's a reason I've been going back and rewatching Batman the Animated Series because it's awesome.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm busy.
In any event, did you ever see any of the 60s series at all? Like any of the episodes or any of the movie?
You know, I have before. The episodes, I've seen those before.
So, to me, what's kind of interesting about this is that for the last couple decades, they've been moving Batman in that darker route. Like, they had the 60s Batman, and it was kind of like fun or funny version of Batman. And then you had The Dark Knight Returns and the Tim Burton Michael Keaton film, which took Batman down that dark path to be a more serious and darker character. And then, of course, you have the Christopher Nolan films that, you know, made him more serious. And Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder's version is continuing that kind of brooding, darker character. And even that's carried on over to the animated films as well. With this, they're going back to the 60s Batman, the more fun Batman. In the trailer, Batman and Robin are in like this pie, this giant pie, and they're moving towards a cooker or whatever, which very much was similar to kind of the crazy antics that were in the 60s series. So to me, it's just plain fun. I mean, yeah, people who are used to their Batman dark and brooding, they're going to get a little bit of a wake-up call with this one. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I remember watching the Adam West Batman on Nick at Night, late at night. There was one episode where they were with Mr. Freeze, and he had them in 2 snow cones. They were trapped in giant snow cones.
That sounds awesome.
It's totally zany. It's totally awesome. It's just a lot of fun. I've gone back and watched the movie more now, which, you know, it's just fun entertainment, really. If you're a fan of the character, just, you know, love the history, the rich history of Batman, you got to at least appreciate what it did for the character. And this animated series steps a little bit away from what they've been doing with the animated Batman films, but in any event, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think if you like Batman, you should definitely check it out.
All right. I won't be watching
All right. Well, you never know. I could watch it while you're in the room. Possibly.
Well, that does seem to happen.
It happens quite a lot, actually. All right, guys, so stepping off of DC, we're going to jump into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, James Gunn replied on Facebook about a question in regards to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 still doesn't come out till May 5th, 2017, but he's already getting questions about if he's going to come back for a third one. To that, Gunn responded, quote, "Do I have plans for a potential Volume 3? Yeah, if I did it, but I'm not sure if I will." This goes into kind of clarifying that Gunn has been kind of preaching that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is its own kind of standalone film, and it doesn't really feed into a lot of the other Marvel films that have been going back and forth. He said it doesn't lead to anything, and kind of confirming that there's not going to be Thanos in it, there's not going to be Infinity Stones. Quote, "I'm dealing with this one story. It's not like I have to change something now for something in the future. It's more like whatever happens in the future will have to be changed by what's created now." Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 sees the return of Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, and Dave Bautista as the Guardians. Now, jumping off of that story as well, the man who voices Groot, Vin Diesel, jumped on a Facebook live stream event and kind of confirmed that Guardians of the Galaxy will be seen in the Avengers Infinity War film. He said, quote, "And you remember the first picture after the Marvel meeting that I had where I was standing with the Avengers thing in the back? What's going to be surreal is that picture is going to come to pass because now the Guardians will be included in an Avengers Infinity War, and that's incredibly exciting." So again, this kind of confirms that Guardians of the Galaxy will be in Avengers Infinity War, which comes out May 4th, 2018, directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who directed Captain America Civil War. So we got a couple pieces of Guardians of the Galaxy news in this, Lisa. First off, what do you think about James Gunn's comments that this next Guardians film is going to stand on its own and not going to feed anything, and also that the Guardians are going to show up in Infinity War?
I mean, I think I'm glad that James Gunn is making it like a movie in its own, because I think sometimes what the dilemma in some of these films that keeps them from being great is that they have so much that they're planning for the future and they're not just doing enough concentrating on what, like the plot of that particular movie. Mm-hmm. So I like that he's not thinking about past it. He's just going to make that a really great movie.
Yeah, like really the first Guardians film, yes, it had Thanos in it, and it really was its own, like, you could have not watched any of the other Marvel movies and just watch Guardians of the Galaxy and be fine. Mm-hmm. So I think what's going to be nice is you probably have to watch the first Guardians movie, of course, but then you don't have to watch any of those other Marvel movies. Like with Captain America's Civil War, you had to probably have watched Ant-Man and Captain America Winter Soldier and all that.
Really, except for Guardians. I think Guardians is the only ones that really kind of stand on their own.
Now, after Volume 2, you might have to go back and, if you want to watch Volume 3, I think it's, they haven't announced the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but if it does come out, chances are you'll probably have to go back and watch some of the Avengers movies, especially Avengers Infinity War now, since Vin Diesel kind of let the cat out of the bag that Guardians are going to be featured
Well,
in
you may not have to watch, it may not, just because the characters from Guardians are in Infinity War doesn't mean that the Infinity War events will relate to a future Guardians film.
Well, I'm assuming things that happen in that film are going to affect the characters or affect the Guardians.
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends too if it's a whole different person that comes in. I mean, it just depends a lot on who's directing another Guardians movie or whatever. I mean, I don't think they'll necessarily have to be related to Infinity War just because they're going to be in it.
I think it's going to be exciting though to have. I mean, there's been long talks about Avengers, and Guardians teaming up for Infinity War, and like I said, Vin Diesel just kind of confirmed it, which really wasn't too breaking for any of us since most fans have speculated that's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. The cool thing, of course, is that you're going to see the Guardians and the Avengers meet up. So in terms of seeing, Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon mix it up with Tony Stark and, the Hulk or whatever, I think it's going to be really cool to see those character interactions. One thing that I think would be funny to have in the film is in the comic books, Tony Stark actually ends up sleeping with what's her name, Zoe Saldana's character, and then Rocket and him sit down and have a whole long conversation about Rocket's like, well, that was stupid, and then Tony Stark goes in his thing about how, well, did you ever see this show Star Trek? There was Captain Kirk and he slept with this green girl, and I always wanted to sleep with a green skinned girl. It was hilarious. That'd be something I don't think they'll put in it, but it'd be a fun little thing to have. But yeah, seeing the Avengers characters and the Guardians of the Galaxy characters interact, especially if they're going to take down Thanos, it makes sense, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to see those characters interact with each other, just if for nothing else, how zany the Guardians of the Galaxy characters are.
Mm-hmm. Really. Yeah, I think it'll be good.
So that'll be awesome. All right, so speaking of someone who is not going to be in Avengers Infinity War, Natalie Portman talked with the Wall Street Journal about her upcoming film, A Tale of Love and Darkness. And then she also talked about her future with the Marvel Studio films, said, quote, "As far as I know, I'm done. I don't know if maybe one day they'll ask for an Avengers 7 or something. As far as I know, I'm done, but it was a great thing to be a part of." Now, Portman portrayed the scientist Jane Foster in Thor and Thor the Dark World. The last time her character was mentioned was in Avengers Age of Ultron, and then she is not set to be in the third Thor film, Thor Ragnarok, which is filming right now in Australia. People have long time kind of speculated that, especially since her name wasn't brought up for the third Thor film, that maybe Natalie Portman is done with Marvel Studio films. What do you think?
I don't know. I still don't think that they're going to make Thor have a new love interest. But, I mean, if she's not needed, then she's not needed. So, I mean, there's only so many things that scientist Jane Foster can contribute to the Marvel film.
Yeah, especially with Thor Ragnarok and Avengers Infinity War, taking that to that cosmic level,
right.
She's not a fighter or anything like that. So
right.
There's no point of her really.
It doesn't really make any sense having her there.
Really, I thought there was hardly no sense of her being in the Dark World either.
Right, exactly. So, I like Natalie Portman. I liked her as Jane Foster. I liked her chemistry with Thor. I mean, I mean, I thought it was fine, but I don't think it's gonna. I don't think we'll be missing anything not having her there. I just don't think her character is necessary in these films.
I liked her in the first Thor film,
but he better not have a new girlfriend. That's all I gotta say.
Unless it's you, right?
Well, yeah, sure, but I mean, I just don't want him to have a new girlfriend. Thor doesn't need a new girlfriend.
Okay, good, exactly. My problem is, okay, as far as Marvel love interest, your Agent Carter, your Pepper Potts, I thought Jane Foster was the weakest of the love interest.
Well, I don't think you can even even contribute. I mean, Pepper Potts and Jane have very little actual, they're not needed. They can totally just be mentioned offhand and it's fine. But Peggy Carter, she could hold her own. So I don't even like to call her a love interest because she was a full-on character all in and of herself.
I guess so. I mean,
don't count her into that. Don't lump her in with them.
All right.
That's all I'm saying.
I touched a nerve. Jeez,
That's all I'm saying.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Peggy Carter is awesome.
But it's okay, so these girls started off in these films as love interests. They were, nice characters to have. But even look at the evolution of Pepper Potts, okay? She wasn't in Captain America Civil War, and it was kind of a mention to Tony that they kind of broken up and parted ways, which makes me think that we might not see Gwyneth Paltrow in the Marvel films at all. Maybe they're going to do a similar thing with Natalie Portman in the next Thor film or the Avengers film, where Thor just kind of mentioned, hey, we kind of broke up. Or
I don't think that they should do that.
Well, it's funny, too, because just the fact that at the end of Thor, The Dark World, he left Asgard to be with Jane on Earth. And if we're never going to see him again, or if that relationship falls apart, I'm like, man, what an epic fail there it is on Thor's personal life, doing something stupid like that for a girl, and it's just kind of falling apart on you. Mm-hmm. Although I guess it kind of makes it more relatable in that way, since it happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was kind of a silly way to end anyway. I mean, why would she want him to give it all up? That doesn't sound like that's something that she would... I thought it was a stretch for the character anyway.
Now, there is another way of looking at this, just kind of playing devil's advocate here, is that I've heard Natalie Portman is somewhat difficult to work with. Even on the Star Wars set, she wasn't happy with what was going on there, which that's saying something about the prequels. But her and George Lucas had kind of friction a little bit, and I've heard even in the last Thor movie she had there were rumors of her complaints, so to speak. So maybe it just has to do with the fact that they don't want to ask her back because she's a little difficult to work with, or B, just her character has no purpose anymore, which I seem to think it's the second one, because really I don't think her character had a purpose outside of the first Thor film, really. But in any event, we'll just have to wait and see if she pops up. If she doesn't, she's going to be fine. She's a fine actress, Academy Award winning. She'll do whatever, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys, so sticking with Marvel news, Brian K. Vaughan's Runaways is heading to Hulu. Deadline reports that Gossip Girl creator Josh Schwartz has teamed up with Marvel Television to bring the comic book series to live action in a brand new series. So according to the report, Marvel's Runaways is the tale of 6 diverse teenagers who can barely stand each other, but who must unite against a common foe, their parents. Schwartz went on to say, quote, "I'm a longtime fan of Runaways and couldn't be more excited to bring Brian's characters to life." Now, head of Marvel Television Jeff Lubb went on to say, quote, "We've known the Runaway stories could make great television, and being lucky enough to have Josh, who have time and again created great shows, speak so genuinely to that exact audience, to write and produce a series is nothing short of remarkable. There is no release date yet set for Marvel's Runaways." Now, I know you're not familiar with the series at all. It's been talked about for a long time. Ever since, phase 2 of Marvel's films, bringing the Runaways in, because it is such kind of a good tale. I have a little bit of knowledge of Runaways because several years ago, Joss Whedon actually had a run where he wrote Runaways, and I actually picked up that story. Even for Joss Whedon, it was like, it really couldn't hold my interest just because of the characters. The story itself is kind of, I think, very cool because you have 6 teenagers, all who have unique abilities, and they run away from home. Why? Because their parents are actually supervillains. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get away from them. And I think that story can be very relatable to, a younger audience, and can be very entertaining, actually, as well. I mean, the premise itself, does it seem like something that'd be cool to you?
Well, starting off the story from the creators of Gossip Girl doesn't exactly make me...
Well, let me show you this. From the creators of Chuck.
Okay, well, I liked Chuck.
Josh Schwartz, same guy who did Chuck.
Yeah, but this other person that he worked
Oh,
with.
that's Stephanie Savage, yeah.
Yeah, apparently, I don't know. I mean, I like Chuck. Gossip Girl, I don't. I think it just depends on how they play it. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, exactly. I don't really watch a lot of TV, so
I will admit I have tweeted to Josh Schwartz on several times to create a Chuck comic book to continue where the story left off. He has yet to reply to me, but
yeah, I mean, I think that this could certainly be something that is targeted to the crowd that liked Gossip Girl. So I mean, it sounds like. Yeah, exactly. Something that teenagers...
It's teenage angst with superpowers, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's Gossip Girl with superpowers.
It doesn't sound interesting at all to me. But I can see why there are people who would find this concept interesting. But then again, I don't really watch a lot of TV. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a few things I watch over your shoulder from time to time, but the only time I ever sit down and watch it with you is when we watch Rebels... or occasionally with the Goldbergs, because that show's freaking hilarious. But other than that, there's not... I mean, what else do I watch, really?
Yeah, that's true. You don't watch... I mean, you're behind on Bones.
I'm behind on everything.
Once Upon a Time and all that.
All of the shows I actually even like, I haven't watched... I haven't watched Bones or Gossip Girl, or not Gossip Girl, now I'm talking about
Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time. I didn't watch those. I think I've watched like maybe 2 episodes of last season. That's it. Like, I'm so behind.
Yeah.
So I just don't have time for TV, and it's not something... I would rather read.
So one thing that kind of excites me is the fact that they're going to put it on Hulu. Because there's been talk even as far as like a Star Wars series coming out, where people, as opposed to putting it on ABC, they want to see it on like one of the streaming services as Netflix, because it kind of gives a little more freedom as far as what they can do. I always compare it, you know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to Daredevil. Now, granted, I don't, you know, think Star Wars or even Runaways needs to go something that dark. But just gives it more freedom to where if you wanted to go step over that line a little bit, you could, as opposed to on ABC where it's so corny to play off to that general audience.
I mean, this is where TV is going. People don't have, cable anymore. People, every day, more and more people are canceling their cable and they're just doing streaming services. I mean, at least once a week at work, somebody says, you know, we're thinking about canceling our cable and just doing Netflix and Hulu. And I'm like, dude, we've been doing that for freaking years.
Yeah, and even now, like, I know Netflix brokered a deal with Warner Brothers CW to where once, like, on The Flash, they said with season 3 coming out, as like a week or 2 after season 3 is done, all episodes are going to be on Netflix. Just because they know now, that's where people go. Like Josh, he got all his Flash season 1 from Netflix. That's what people do. I just got done watching The Get Down last night, which was a great show. I loved it on Netflix, and all the episodes are right there. Yeah. And they know that that's the way to get people, to get them. The sooner you put on Netflix as well, you know, someone goes in, they watch Flash season 3, and they know, hey, I'm into this show, so I'm ready for season 4.
Well, that's what people do now, too. Very few people watch every week to watch. I mean, Rebels is probably the only thing we do that with, where every week we watch. Well, you do it.
I do more. I have a few. Well, but I mean, different.
Otherwise, like, I wait for the season to be over, and once it's on Netflix, I just binge. And that's what people do. People go in and binge watch when the season is over. People are tired of having to wait. I mean, you know how everybody is. Instant gratification. They want to know what's going to happen next right away. So they don't want to sit there and have to wait for the next week for the next episode. They want to wait till the whole thing's done and then just sit and take like a whole weekend and just watch the whole thing.
So even with Hulu shows, a lot of times they do one time a week, like once a day when they release the next episode. Do you think they should release all of them at once, or release once a week?
I think they'll probably start with doing it like a normal meeting, like with a release once a week. Yeah, but I just think people are just the way people watch TV is changing.
I'm interested though because of the fact that it's going to be on Hulu, because I know Marvel, which is owned by ABC, has a good deal, or not ABC, which is let me retract that. Okay, Marvel, which is owned by Disney, and they have a deal with Netflix. I'm surprised they wouldn't go to Netflix as opposed to Hulu. Interesting. So we'll just have to wait and see how that all pans out, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So moving over to something I'm sure you will want to talk about. Time for some Harry Potter news. For those of you who have not finished the last Harry Potter screenplay, or are getting way too excited for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, good luck. You're going to have a little bit of an appetizer in between them, because announced on Pottermore, we're going to get a couple of short stories that are set in the Wizarding world, written by J.K. Rowling herself. So the first one is going to be Hogwarts, an incomplete and unreliable guide. Now this is going to dive into the nooks and crannies of the beloved Wizarding school itself, that gives details everything from the ghost to what happens when the Sorting Hat can't decide on a student's house. The next one, Short Stories from Hogwarts of Power, Political, and Pesky Poltergeist. It's a lot of P's. Explores the dark roots of the wizarding world. You'll learn more about the troubles that face the Ministry of Magic, the horrors of Azkaban Prison, and enjoy an entirely new original piece written by J.K. Rowling on Horace Slughorn. Ooh. Finally, the third film is going to be Short Stories from Hogwarts of Heroism, Hardship, and Dangerous Hobbies. What is with all these, like, P's and H's? Geez. On Pottermore, it's going to talk about the colorful staff of Hogwarts. You're going to discover about the care of magical creatures teacher, Sylvan, you're going to say this right, Sylvanus Kettleburn?
I mean,
Is that about right?
I would imagine.
Okay, that sounds good. As well as another piece of writing from J.K. Rowling on Minerva McGonagall.
You didn't know her name was Minerva?
Well, I probably forgot about it. I'm not, into it right now, okay? I know McGonagall. Anyway, and talks about McGonagall's involvement in the Second Wizarding War. Now, these Pottermore Presents series is currently available for pre-order on Pottermore and other digital platforms. They're going to be $3 a piece and are going to go on sale September 6th. I know you're going to pick them up.
Yeah, I will.
These sound interesting, too. I really like it. Again, McGonagall is one of those characters that I want to know more about her history as well. Just like I would want to know more about Dumbledore's history, which I think Deathly Hallows, I love Deathly Hallows because you got so much more into Dumbledore's history.
There's already a little blurb about McGonagall's past in Pottermore.
So yeah, that'll be cool talking about that.
Now we just need a Pottermore app.
Okay, so here's what you need to... I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, hey, you're preaching about the Pottermore app. And even I talked to my coworker Maggie, who's a big Harry Potter fan. She's like, that would be a good idea for an app. So here's what you need to do. There's Pottermore on Facebook. They're on Twitter. I'm sure they're everywhere. You need to get on social media and preach to them, okay? Just like I do with Josh Schwartz, who never listens to me.
Well, can't you do it? Because you're the one that has... You use Twitter and stuff. I don't use that.
Okay.
I mean, I have it, but I don't use it.
Okay, but if they listen to me, I take credit for it, okay?
That's fine.
All right, as long as you get your app.
As long as I get an app. I don't care how it happens.
Okay. So say this. Of the 3 short stories, which one do you, I think, are to be more interesting?
Oh, I don't know. They all 3 sound great.
Yeah, so the one, let's see here, Short Stories of Hogwarts of Power, Politics, and Pesky Poltergeist. That's probably my least one I'm looking forward to. I like the other one, The Unreliable Guide, because it's going to talk about the Hogwarts ghost and the Sorting Hat. I would, how the Sorting Hat works really would be kind of
I'm just excited.
Interesting.
Anything that comes out of Harry Potter, the world, the magical world of Harry Potter.
This is all. I think this is all. Like I said, an appetizer for Fantastic Beasts. Yeah. They want to. I think all this coming out now with the new Harry Potter book. And they're trying to bring the wizarding world back into people's mindset so that when the film comes out in December, it's on the front of their minds that, hey, they're getting more, get them psyched up is what it's supposed to do. Like I said yesterday, Hot Topic has some new stuff coming out, some related to Harry Potter, some related to Fantastic Beasts. I think this is all just a ploy to get to the movie.
I don't think that's what it is
Not a ploy, but, it's interesting, though.
I think it's just because J.K. Rowling knows... People are wanting more.
Oh, yeah.
People want more, and they want her to write more. And they don't want to just play on the app. They want the information.
If any fans know about wanting more, it's a Star Wars fan, okay? We had to wait 20 years for more Star Wars.
Well, luckily for Potter fans, she's not making us wait that long.
I know.
So I appreciate that.
I don't want to hear about, give me more, okay? Star Wars fans, we yearn for more. It took a long time.
I'm not trying. It's not a comparison, Sean.
I am.
I'm saying it doesn't have to be.
As always, I'm comparing my fandom of Star Wars to yours of Harry Potter, and Star Wars is better. Silence. That's what you get, kids. All right. So, anything more you want to talk about in regards to this? She's giving me that look like you're crazy, and just move on. So I'm going to move on, guys. Sticking with our other subjects, so to speak. Next year is going to mark the 30th anniversary of the cult classic vampire horror film, The Lost Boys.
I'm going to tap out right here.
Oh, she's going to tap out. Well, I might, throw it to you a little bit here with these stories. But anyway, Lost Boys came out in 1987 and has since had 2 direct-to-video sequels. Now, it looks like Veronica Mars creator Rob Thomas, his name is Rob Thomas and he's not the... singer. That's interesting. Anyway, so Rob Thomas is looking to bring The Lost Boys to the CW as a series. Now, Thomas has written a pilot script which will set up quite an innovative premise, so to speak. The show is said to be envisioned for a 7-season run spanning 70 years, with each season chronicling a decade. The setting, antagonists, and human characters will all change each season, with the immortal and ageless vampires remaining the same from season to season. The first season is set to take place during 1967 in San Francisco, with the series exploring what it truly means to be immortal. It isn't known if there's going to be any connection to actually the Lost Boys films from this series, but with each season kind of following 10 years, it's said to say that the third season might take place in 1987, where the first film took place. Now, it's also kind of worth noting that the CW's long-running vampire series, The Vampire Diaries, is getting ready for the final season this fall, so they're possibly looking to fill that vampire void on the network with The Lost Boys. Now, when I first read this premise, first off, I'm a huge fan of the original film. I have it on Blu-ray. Lisa, I don't think you've ever seen it. You should watch it because
I watched it when I was a kid. I'm not interested. I didn't like it.
Awesome. Me and my brother used to watch it all the time because the main characters were an older brother and a younger brother. And Corey Haim's character had those like wild button-up shirts, and he loved comic books. And Patrick used to make fun of me because I used to wear wild button-up, colorful shirts and love comic books. So we can relate to that. In any event, it was an awesome film. If you haven't seen the original Lost Boys, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a lot better than some of these other crappy Twilight-ish vampire movies.
You don't have to compare it, Sean.
Anyway, it looks like they're taking it and they're going to do the Twilight spin on it, which kind of upsets me. Now, the story itself doesn't seem that bad, where it's going to be spanning decades and having the vampires the same. I just put it on the CW. I know it's going to be just another vampire. I can tell you it's going to be exactly like The Vampire Diaries. No, thank you. Put it on HBO. You got my attention because I know you're not going to hold back. Put it on CW. It's going to be fluffy and whatever.
It's going to be teeny bopper. It's not going to be what you want it to be.
Exactly what I want it to be. What it should be. It's not even going to be anywhere near what the Lost Boys movie was, which was a hardcore vampires, Ugh. Anyway, the premise doesn't sound too bad, but like I said, the fact that it's going on CW does not interest me at all. Now, skipping off of that into some more awesome 80s horror movies, the classic film Monster Squad might be getting a sequel, although it's been talked about for a while. Shane Black, who wrote the original Monster Squad, recently talked to IGN and talked about the possibility of doing a sequel. Now, for those of you who don't know, Monster Squad was the story of suburban preteens taking on the ultimate gallery of universal monsters that have entered their town, such as Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, etc. And the possible sequel could take place 3 decades later. Now, Black said, quote, "I didn't even realize it has been successful. I loved it. I had fun working on it, and it was one of the first things I'd ever written. And it wasn't just that it wasn't a hit, it was a huge failure. No one saw it. I don't know how on earth it caught on after all these years. It will be interesting to have 2 movies, one The Monster Squad and one The Monster Squad, and they're 30 years apart, and so are the kids. The characters have aged. As long as people understand that's what they're doing, I think it would be fun. That's a good idea." Speaking of Monster Squad, another awesome film that...
I have seen that. I have seen that with you.
Yes, you did see that.
I didn't see it as a kid. I saw it with you as an adult.
I grew up with it. It's awesome. And, especially...
I think I would have liked it better if I'd seen it first as a kid.
Well,
because then it would have had that nostalgia factor, which I think is probably a lot why you like it.
No, it's an awesome premise.
If you watch this movie for the first time as an adult, you're going to be like, okay.
So it's not the nostalgia. I think it watching it as a kid, again, it goes back to me and my brother because the 2 main characters were named Sean and Patrick. So for that, again...
That's what I'm saying. But I think the whole thing with the Monster Squad is one of those things, if you didn't see it and love it as a kid, you're not going to be able to watch it for the first time as an adult and be like, what a freaking awesome movie. You're going to watch it as an adult and be like, okay, that's interesting.
Wolfman's got nards.
I'm just saying, that's how a lot of those films are. Movies that we love from our childhood... They're not necessarily great movies.
I will give you. There are things like I've gone to go back to revisit from my childhood, especially like animated series that I loved that aren't that good. Like I love Thundercats as a kid. My favorite animated series growing up. I go back to try to watch it now. I can't.
But I'm not talking about just you rewatching it from your childhood. I'm talking about somebody who never saw it as a kid, watching it as an adult. they're going to be, they don't have that nostalgia factor, which is a lot of why, it's like how I always go on about how much I love Midnight Madness. Okay? I'm just saying, that is, and I will completely, I mean, I still love it. I still love it. But I'm just saying, I think if somebody who never saw it as a kid is not going to watch that as an adult and look at me and be like, you're so right, that movie's great. They're going to look at it and they're going to be like, yeah, that movie was totally in early 80s, meh. Same thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, you show Monster Squad to somebody who's never seen it, and they're not going to be like, that movie's awesome. They're going to be like, yeah, the movie was totally made in the...
Challenge accepted.
I'm just saying, a lot of movies from that time period are like that.
I'm just saying, if you show it to the right person, I'm not saying it's for everybody. I mean, I'm not going to, show it to your sister and say, hey, watch this, you're going to like it. No. I'm going to give it to maybe one of my coworkers who I know likes that, monster vibe or whatever. I would gladly show them Lost Boys and Monster Squad.
Well, Lost Boys I think is different. I think that one holds up a little bit better than some of these cheesy kid movies.
I think I would dare say that I think people would enjoy Monster Squad more than they would Lost Boys just because of the comedy of Monster Squad.
All right.
In my opinion, see you later, bandy breath. Classic lines. Classic lines. I'm going to watch that movie again.
Whatever.
My only disappointment is they don't have it on Blu-ray, man. I got Lost Boys on Blu-ray. They don't have Monster Squad on Blu-ray yet. We'll have to wait for that.
Guess so.
In any event, Monster Squad, great movie. Having a sequel, it's one of those things, not everything needs a sequel. Especially nowadays where they're taking these, old films or cult films and trying to make a sequel or remake to them. All they're doing is just crapping out, movies is what it is. I'm saying... if you want to make a sequel and make it good, that's fine. But, if you're doing it just for the brand recognition of it, let it go. Let it pass. Re-release it on Blu-ray. It needs to come on Blu-ray. We'll all buy that, and that'll be enough for us. Give us some good special features, though. I want some good special features, some director's commentary, some actors, interviews, stuff like that. I think we all deserve that, being, we stuck with this film for so long. In any event, Shane Black, you know what? Keep doing your thing. You're doing good. Nice Guys was good. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Was great. Yeah, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was great.
I say just, go back to it. I mean, does the fact that, Shane Black wrote this film, can you see that? The comedy of it or, in that? No? She'd say no. Okay.
I've seen Monster Squad.
I'm just saying, it's just...
I'm just saying, if I had watched it as a kid, I probably would like it better than now as an adult. But I didn't see it as a kid. So as an adult, I'm all like... okay, that's great.
Okay, well, I think I've lost her, guys, so that means we are done with the show. If you have any questions or comments about anything we've talked about here, hit us up, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com, as well as hit us up on the Facebook group or on Twitter. See, I like that? Twitter. Anyway, where I will be campaigning for a Pottermore app apparently all this week.
Yes, he sure will.
All right, you can find me on...
and all of you can too.
Yes, go ahead, guys. Let's get the... I'll make a hashtag. What's the hashtag say? Pottermore app or please Pottermore app? Or
desperate for a Pottermore app.
Desperate for a Pottermore app. So hashtag desperate for a Pottermore app.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get it going, guys. We'll get that going and see if Pottermore and J.K. Rowling will listen to us. We'll just have to wait and see. So again, find me on social media, Slim Dayspring 12 on my Instagram and Twitter. And that's going to be it, guys. So hit us up. Until next week, later.